The Urbanist is brought to you in association with the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi. Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi is a beacon of hope and inspiration. A catalyst to spark growth and collaboration with museums and experiences, where art and science and nature and technology coexist.
The belief of Abu Dhabi that culture is the backbone of our society.
Stay tuned for a special episode of the show, in which you can hear His Excellency Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak explain exactly why and how Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi is the perfect place to collaborate, create and innovate. Saadiyat Cultural District Abu Dhabi, proud partner of The Urbanist on Monocle Radio.
Conversations about the legacy that a large international event leaves for its host city are important for shaping not just future events, but future cities too. For Montreal, the 1976 Summer Olympics left behind a structure that evokes both joy and anger amongst residents. You're listening to Tall Stories, a Monocle production brought to you by the team behind The Urbanist. I'm Andrew Tuck. In this episode, Paul Logothetis takes us to the Montreal Olympic Stadium and explores the mixed impression it's left on the city.
No physical site in Montreal stirs up mixed emotions quite like its Olympic Stadium. French architect Roger Taliber's design for the 1976 Summer Games was once considered groundbreaking for its umbrella-like retractable roof and its space-like oval bowl made from 26,000 tons of concrete. The Big O, as it was affectionately coined, is beloved by many city residents because of its association with hosting those Summer Olympics, where Romanian gymnast Nadia Comaneci scored a perfect 10. That's perfection! And U.S. decathlete Caitlyn Jenner broke the world record.
Oh, Jenner wins it big, 47.52, that's unofficial.
Following the Olympics, the 60,000-seat amphitheater became home to the Montreal Expos Major League Baseball team for nearly 3 decades and has been used as a venue for musical acts, monster trucks, the 2015 Women's World Cup, and much more. But to many residents, the Olympic Stadium isn't filled with fond recollections. Mayor Jean Drapeau, who led the 1976 Olympics bid, said the stadium was as likely to be over budget as a man was to get pregnant. A prophetic turn of phrase considering it took taxpayers of the city over 30 years to pay off the costs of the event. This part of the population frustratingly calls the stadium the Big O, as in owing cash, since constant repairs, particularly to the roof that never functioned, continue to cost citizens of the city and the province of Quebec to this day.
With these kind of social symbols, people feel strongly attached with them, identify with them. They don't want to lose part of the history of the city and, of course, of themselves, particularly if the city has other symbols, but this is probably one of the most important symbols of the city. So it's very difficult to assess the value of that. Of course, it's a great value and it costs a lot of money. I'm Daniel Belanche. I'm professor of marketing at the University of Zaragoza in Spain, and I have been researching on the topic of social identity and place identity, how people identify with places.
Belanche is one of the co-authors of a study on understanding how social identity is linked to urban settings, a phenomenon with roots in the studies of Henri Tocqueville. Nostalgia plays a big part in Montreal Olympic Stadium history, looming large in many of our hearts, even if it is perhaps the original Olympic white elephant. It's quite a contrast to this summer's Olympics in Paris, which is hosting a Summer Games focused on utilizing existing structures rather than spending for the extravagance. The tower overhanging the Olympic Stadium's bowl was completed after the Games and has been semi-successful since, with recent renovations leading to companies renting out office space in it. These employees will have a clear view of the next wave of financing set for the Big O below. The latest twist in the saga, which felt like another knife in the side to some, was when Quebec's tourism minister announced a nearly $1 billion plan to replace the decaying roof. The new look top would feature a transparent glass to allow natural light to fill the concrete interior, and she promises to generate $150 million per year in economic spin-offs. Another faux fix or a solution? Would anyone in Montreal even be able to agree? All this latest announcement did was stir up the long-running debate. Better to demolish and start over, or keep pumping money into maintaining the status quo?
Initially, it was a positive element that everybody could be attached with and engage with some feelings, positive feelings, memories, positive emotions related to it. But then when it turns negative somehow because of the problems with the roof, because of the problems with what to do with it, and probably because of the money it needs to be invested on it, and so on, it is turning somehow a negative element. As we are talking, probably both positive and negative feelings are mixed, and that's what it should be avoided. If it was a positive element, it should be kept as a positive element, and the problem is how to do it. That's the question. In other cities, we have seen that, for instance, they destroy the stadium and they create a new one very similar to the previous one, giving them the same name of the previous one, or keeping the same style of architecture and so on, so that they want to keep the memory of people as it was in the past, even if they have to destroy a symbol because of many reasons that it could happen as well. In this case, it seems to me that it's most related with the enormous cost that it has, and if it is worth paying for it or not. And it is very, very difficult decisions because, as I said, it's a decision that involves other people's identities, other people's emotions, and we should ask every one of them if they are willing to pay their part of the cost to know if they will be willing to pay it to keep the stadium as it is or as more similar as possible.
Costs are the major setback to demolishing and starting over. Reports suggest the cost of demolition could be as much as $2 billion because of the curved ribs that hold the stadium. They are made up of pre-stressed concrete reinforced with steel cables that are under enormous tension. One expert from McGill University said cutting the pre-stressed concrete could release the equivalent energy of a bomb. Such a scenario isn't ideal with a metro line running below the stadium, plus the nearby zoo, the Olympics Aquatic Center, and other legacy buildings that surround the stadium and remain useful. The constant tug-of-war has taken a toll on Montrealers as we try to balance the objective reasoning against the nostalgic pull of one of the city's and the country's most iconic landmarks. Throw into the mix how Major League Baseball yanked the Expos away and relocated them to Washington in 2004, and, for many, the memories remain bittersweet. All we know for now is that until a new roof is fitted by 2028, there will most likely be more headlines, and not the positive kind. Particularly in a city where snow is a given, and yet just 3 centimeters of the white stuff on the current stadium roof is deemed dangerous enough to shut it down and force the stadium into hibernation.
Tall Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was written by Paul Logothetis and produced and edited by David Stevens. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive new episodes every week. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thank you for listening, City Lovers.